Welcome to Institute for Veterans and Military Families Business Plan Lab. This is our first series and we're going to be talking about Introduction to Business Plan. We will cover the basics of a business plan, why we need it, and what a good business plan looks like. Before we start talking about business plan, let's quickly review, as this is our first session, the definition of entrepreneurship, what entrepreneurship means, and how a business plan makes sense for every entrepreneur to pursue and explore the opportunity that you have identified. Definition of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the process of creating value by bringing together a unique package of resources to exploit an opportunity. So you identify an opportunity, now you have to identify a way how to exploit that opportunity, either by creating some new products or services, bundling products or services, identifying new distribution channels for that product or service, or developing new pricing models. So there's a lot of ways and many processes you can create to exploit that opportunity, as it says here. A lot of people think in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to come up with a new Google or Apple, which is not necessarily true. Entrepreneurship takes place in many different aspects, from small to large projects included. So entrepreneurship is also a pursuit of opportunity without regard to resources currently under control. So just because you don't have a specific resource now doesn't mean you should not pursue it or even explore it. That's why when you work on a business plan, you identify what are those resources, and then you will find where those resources are available and how you can leverage these resources. So it is a process, and this entrepreneurship process can be broken into steps or stages. It can be managed. It is ongoing. Just because you write a business plan, for example, today, doesn't mean you should come back and rewrite it and change it 3, 5, 6, 10 months down the road. As a process, it applies in organizations of all sizes and types. It is for profits as much as it's non-for-profits. It creates social value as well as economic value. So entrepreneurship really encompasses all aspects of life, and you can use the same business plan writing skills you gain from this business plan lab also in a company, in a startup, an existing company, in your organization, in your community, and many other aspects of your life. But really, entrepreneurship creates value. Entrepreneurs create value when none was before. So you identify a problem, you identify a need, and that's how you create value for that problem or that need. And you have to move beyond the invention. Whatever you identify and invent it, just creating a product is not going to be enough. You have to find a way how to deliver it to the people that will use the product, and to the people that this product is creating a specific value. The entrepreneurs frequently are not the actual inventors. Entrepreneurs are people that use sometimes other inventions, tweak them, improve them, or help these inventors to be entrepreneurial and create value by delivering these products or services to the people that see the value in it. You move to a business concept that is market-centered and creates new source or forms of value. So you identify who are, as I mentioned before, who are the people that need this, and to whom it is creating value, that product that you're offering or the service, and that's how you focus your business plan in terms of you want to cater it to those individuals who will benefit mostly from that product or service, be it a product like a phone or be it a service such as financial literacy. The unique package, I talked previously that the entrepreneurship is a process of creating value by bringing together a unique package of resources to exploit an opportunity. And when we talk about unique package, we use this kaleidoscope thinking that we are all surrounded by the same things. And entrepreneurs just put them together in a slightly different way. They can see things that other people usually don't see, right? How many of us have idea of creating an app by, for example, you're standing in let's say you go to McDonald's, you stand in line, and you think yourself, how cool would it be if I come and I have an app before I even walk in McDonald's, I can make my order, right? You might be one of a million people thinking the same way, but entrepreneurs might then actually look at this and tweak it and come up with a solution to really provide this application. So the unique package should include product innovation. As I just mentioned, you can use the app that already exists and tweak it and make it applicable. A new distribution approach. You can identify distribution approach would be sort of you go into McDonald's, you make the app, you order it, and you just drive through the drive-through and you already have it. You don't have to even talk to the person on the window. Alternative service delivery method, that is just when I talked about different ways of packaging and so on. So there's many ways how you can be innovative. An example of this was Dell computers. I'm sure you all know about Dell. Before Dell started this company, he realized that nobody provided customization opportunities and nobody delivered in front of the door. If they delivered, the cost was really high. So Dell came up with the concept of providing customization of desktops and laptop computers and delivering it in front of your door, all included in the price. So that was product innovation, distribution approach, and also alternative delivery. I also mentioned that entrepreneurship is an opportunity-driven behavior. It is not resource-constrained behavior. We are all surrounded by dozens of opportunities. We just don't see them or act on them. And the pursuit of opportunity makes one more opportunity aware. Just because you don't have resources, as I mentioned before, you should not be constrained about pursuing and thinking about pursuing an opportunity that you've identified. The best way is to identify the opportunity and then pursue the entrepreneurial process. An entrepreneurial process is a 6-step process where as a first step is to identify an opportunity. So once you identify an opportunity, then you want to explore further. You want to dig deeper and do some research to develop a business concept. Once you develop the business concept, then you want to assess what are the necessary resources that you'll need. So it's not a resource constraint. This is opportunity driven. So you want to identify what are the necessary resources that you have, that you need. And then the next step, logical step, would be to acquire these needed resources. Once you acquire these needed resources, and these might be monetary resources, human resources, equipment, technology, and so on. Once you have acquired these, then you want to implement them. And once you implement them, you're going to start making sales. Once you start making sales, then you are in business. You have your customers. And the last step is really to manage your growth and harvest the benefits and the profit of your company. The for-profit, non-for-profit, if it's profit, you're going to harvest the economic impact. You're going to harvest the monetary rewards. If you are a non-for-profit, you're going to harvest impact in the community. We're going to create social value, such as training kids in after-school programs, number of graduations, and stuff. So the simple summary, which is next slide, is the progression. You start with opportunity, identify what is the product or service that can exploit that opportunity. You develop the business concept, you're going to work on the business model, then you work on a business plan. So you'll shortly touch on each of these: the product, services, business concept, the business model, and business plan. But this is a logical progression, so to say, once you identify a opportunity and how you come to a business plan. So you want to identify really, once you have that product and service and you have a concept, then you want to identify, is your business model really viable? And in a viable business model, it identifies what product will you provide, product or service will you provide to a customer. If you have a certain price, is the price higher or more than the expenses you incur by producing and delivering that product or service? How do you distinguish yourself from competitors? Do you make acceptable return on investment? And is this business model sustainable in a long run? And when you work on a business model, you want to create a foundation which really identifies what do you do and how you will do it. For foundation, you want to ask the questions: how will the firm create value? What are those products and services that you will be selling? For whom will you be creating the value? Who is your customer? Or who are your customers? What is your firm's internal source advantage? What is it that you have internally and that nobody else can have, or it's going to be difficult for them to duplicate that what you're doing. Also ask yourself, how will you differentiate yourself with other companies that are competing? What is different? If I'm a customer, how will I perceive you differently from the other competitors? How will your firm make money? What is the economic model? Right? Are you making more than the expenses are? And is this sustainable in the long run? And then figure out what are your ambitions, what is your time scope and size of the company, how long do you want to pursue this, what are some potential long-term goals that you want to achieve, and how far are you willing and able to grow this company. So to go more in depth, when you talk about value creation, you want to see what product or service do you use to create a value, and then you can be very innovative in aspects of the product or service. Is it going to be a single product? Is it going to be standard product or service? Is it going to be a customized, highly customized? Is it going to be a bundle of products or services? So all these things you want to ask yourself and look at what others are doing and what is unique that you can do and make it better than anybody else. So think about the mix of the products and services that you have. How many of them will you have? How many variations of certain product or services can you offer or will you offer? Then how will you make the product or service? Are you going to make it internally? Are you going to outsource certain components? Are you going to outsource everything? Are you going to outsource it locally? Or are you going to outsource it somewhere in the nation or internationally? And then also finally, how do you plan to deliver the product? Are you delivering yourself? Are you using a delivery services? Are you using distribution centers such as, let's say you're in the food business and you're going to sell directly through grocery stores? So you want to think about these things of what is the product, what are the features and benefits of the product, how will you make the product, and how will it be delivered to your customers. And then customers, who are your customers? Who are the consumers? Is it private individuals, end users? Is it businesses that you're selling to? Where are those customers located in the value chain? Like if you're selling raw materials, are you really selling it to the consumers, or are you selling it to factories, or who is your customer and where are you in the value chain of that product? What is the geographic scope of your customers? Are they located locally within, let's say, 10-mile radius where you live? Is it going to be regional? Is it going to be national or international? And also, is it going to be a discrete transactions or ongoing relationships that you're going to have with these customers? Meaning, are you only sell to them without really creating a relationship with them? For example, if I'm driving from New York down to Washington, D.C. and I stop at the gas station to get gas, this is really strictly transactional relationship I'm going to have with that gas station because I'm going to be there only once and they don't really care if I come back or not. However, if I'm working and have a business and let's say I'm providing bookkeeping services and I have customers that I'm providing bookkeeping services to, then I have to have ongoing relationship with these customers to make sure that I maintain the relationship and groom and grow that relationship. So you want to think about your products or services that you offer. Even if you have products, how do you maintain a relationship with your customers if there's one needed? And then we talk about, so those are the foundational levels, talking about what we do. And then proprietary level really talks about the application of the unique approaches to one or more foundational components, explain like how it's being done. So you want to also, when you develop your business model, you want to identify some rules or guidelines, which is a basic set of operating rules identifying, okay, my company is going to deliver 100% on time, we're going to have 0.001% error rate in our products, and so on. So you want to identify really what are those rules that will help you maintain a quality and standard that you're advertising yourself to have, or promoting, or people have perceived you to be. And it's really, those are guidelines to ensure the foundation components are reflected into the strategic actions of your company. So why write a business plan? Now you have identified opportunity, you have identified what products or services you might have, and then you worked through your business model, identify that this could be a viable business. So you have done all the preliminary and feasibility studies so far, and writing a business plan will help you structure much better your strategy, how you're going to roll out your company, and how you will target your customers, and how you maintain growing that company. So they said that not having a business plan is the best plan to fail. So the purpose and the logic of a business plan is to sell your idea, to convince the key collaborators to get involved. Either this could be your funding sources, people that are interested in buying your products or services. This could be individuals you want to bring on board as advisors or mentors. These could be your suppliers, distributors, but also potential employees. So you want to be able to sell your idea and show that idea that that's actually a viable idea and it's going to work, that you have done all the work. So you write a business plan once you have, let's say your job changes and you want to pursue a business or a business that has to do with what you have done so far, and you want to really convince yourself that you're able to do it and that there is opportunity out there. Also, you need a business plan to sell your idea in case there is significant life cycle change, for example, death or divorce. So you have to accommodate that as well when you work on a business plan. And finally, also the purpose and logic of a business plan is to test the feasibility. You tested the feasibility a little bit by doing the business model, but you've really done things in terms of the product, the services, who your customers would be or could be. Then you tested really is the economics, are the economics sound? And with working the business plan, really you want to convince yourself if it's worth it, to really see if there's a need and to dig deeper in terms of doing more market research, talking to potential customers to see how big is the need and will you be able to meet that need, fill in the gap that they have. And finally, also the feasibility, this clarifies the business and economic models that you have talked before. It goes much more depth, and it's going to confirm that you were right, or it might identify things that you were not right. Either way, if you're not right, it's going to provide you opportunity to look at the idea from different perspective and see if you can tweak it in order to still pursue that opportunity, even though it's not the way you planned originally, which is perfectly fine and happens all the time to everybody. You want to also figure out the operations in terms of what logistics will you need in order to produce and deliver your product. So you want to go into the excruciating details as much as you can to make sure that you can work it, make it work, and be able to deliver what you're promising you can deliver. You want to develop all benchmarks and assessments, but also specify growth objectives, strategies, risks, and alternatives. All these will help you mitigate the risk of failure, but also provide you more opportunities or open doors for more opportunities to make your business even stronger and be better prepared when you start selling your products and services. So now I would like to go and walk you through a structure of a business plan. So we call this a purpose and logic of a business plan, and the order of the plan content. So today we will talk about really just overview of the business plan, and each lab going forward will cover 1 or 2 or 3 of these components of the business plan. So logically, when you identify opportunity, you want to start looking at the opportunity from a big picture, and that big picture is the industry. The industry describes the landscape in which you seek to toil. You're going to identify what is the unmet need or unsolved problem in the industry that you seek to address, what is the industry status and tolerance for new business entry that may define entry strategies, and what changes are occurring in industry upon which you may capitalize. So you're looking at the big perspective of who are the big players, what are some key trends in that industry, and you want to think about how can you, when looking at these trends and opportunities, how can you leverage that toward your business idea. And this will actually play a big role in how you plan your strategy. So if you, let's say, in telecommunication business and identify that the phones, the landlines are really dying out, you don't want to be in the business of creating landline phones, right? So you want to think about new innovative ways to create a phone like the smartphones. So this is just an example of, if you look at an industry and you see there's a trend that really doesn't make sense for me. If the trend is going away, or if the industry is declining, or if it's too saturated, is there really room for me in that field? And if yes, then what is the best way to compete, considering all the trends and key players in the industry? So once you have that industry section, right, you look at the big picture, identify the opportunity and identify the problem. Now the next section of the business plan is to identify what your company is and what is your concept. And when you talk about company, really the company is you describing what products or services are you delivering. You also want to explain how does it capture the opportunity of, or serve the need, or solve a problem in the industry. What is the value your business adds? How does it do that? And is it value added a good fit in the industry that you're pursuing? And a lot of this company concept is kind of summarized in the business model that we talked about previously. We can break it down in details and identify what are the products and services you're offering, how many of them, how many variations, what are some key benefits and features of those products and services, then how do they fit within the industry, and how do you create value for your customers. So we covered industry. Now we talk about, in the industry you talk about the need or opportunity, and then next section is the company, which explains what is the product or service that you will use to exploit that opportunity. And then next logical step is really to talk about the market, right? If there's opportunity, you have a solution, then who will benefit from that solution? Whom are you going to sell this great product or services? What is your market potential, and how are you going to segment into your target markets? Who's your customer, and what do you know about them and their buying behavior? So this is really one of the key components or key sections in the business plan, that yes, you can have a great solution, you can have, then there might be great opportunity, but is there market there? An example of this is, I oftentimes use sauerkraut ice cream, right? Everybody loves ice cream, as many people love sauerkraut. However, there is no sauerkraut ice cream. So my solution would be to provide and sell sauerkraut ice cream, right? Cool problem or cool gap, cool solution. However, is the market, it's questionable. So you really want to identify, is there market? Because I can have the best or coolest product or service. However, if there's no market, then I will not be in business, because I will be able to sell it to anybody. So once you have identified who your customers are, then next step is to move forward. So yes, you have my interest. Now the $64 million question: how do you make money? What are the economics of your business, including key assumptions that underline your economic model? So in economic model, or business model and economic model, you want to look at your revenue drivers. What are the prices that you're going to be charging? What are the margins you're going to be making on those products as you sell? What are your expenses? What are your fixed and variable costs? And don't worry about it, we're going to cover this all in detail in our market section of the Business Plan Lab. And also, want to talk about operations. How soon will you break even, and will you be able to make money? So this is very important when it comes to economics and understanding the economic viability of your business plan. So once you identify that your business is viable, then you want to talk about the marketing plan. And the marketing plan is, you explain it, you know that there is a need in and an entry strategy to the industry. I know what product or services you have and who your customers are. Now you have to sell those. And how will you sell this? You are going to explain it in the marketing plan. You're going to show how you're going to reach your customers most effectively and efficiently, and make them buy it and make them continuously buy it, so have repeat customers. So marketing plan really explains how you're gonna reach your target customers that you have identified in the market section. And when we talk about marketing, a lot of people have the wrong assumption that advertisement is marketing. Really, there is much more than advertisement into marketing. Advertisement is just a small piece of marketing. There's so much more into it, and make sure to attend all of the Business Plan Lab sections to go in more detail and understand what each of these sections entails, and also learn some tools that you can use and implement in order to do your market research, but also use that research to develop your marketing plan. So once you have your marketing plan, then you have to do work on development. So ask yourself the question, is your business, product, or service ready to go? What research, testing, and development does it need to make it or complete it? What risks do you need to evaluate and plan for, and how will you develop a proof of concept? So let's say you have technological product. In this section of the business plan, you want to identify really how far you are with researching it, testing it, and developing it, who's developing it, how far in your testing phases, who has been using it so far. So as much as details as you can, because you want to have a proof of that concept. You want to show that the product you have or service that you're developing is really soundproof and it's going to work. So once you have all this, you have to show how you will make and or deliver your product or services. You have to show what is required for you to do delivery to your customers, what you promise, and to follow up on delivery and promise. So you talk about logistics. What are the logistics? How will they be employed and the efficiency measured? And where do you fit in the value chain of that product or service that you're doing? And once you have identified your operations, then you have to show us who will manage those operations, who will implement those operations, which is the management team. The book cover looks good and has a catchy title. The introduction grabs my interest. Seems like there is a need or potential interest in the product or service. Now I want character development for the story. Who are the characters? What core competencies do they bring to the venture? And what exactly are they going to do? Why you? Why now? So this is where you identify why it makes sense that you run the company, and also you want to identify some of the resources, human resources that you will need, such as partners, executives, managers, that will help you in implementing this business plan and achieving that economic goal or social goal, or both of them, that you are set to do with your business. Once you're done with your management team, you want to identify what some of the critical risks and assumptions. So all critical risks must be identified and explained, and a course of action proposed where possible to address these risks, just in case the worst case happens. So all major assumptions and their possible effects should be explained, and their potential impact discussed in this section of the business plan. This allows your readers to understand that you have done the adequate research, that you are aware of the risks, because it wouldn't be professional to come to a meeting and present everything great about the business plan, but then they ask you about a lot of these risks that they haven't even mentioned in your business plan. It gives an impression that you're not ready or haven't done enough work with your business plan. So once you have identified those risks, now you want to summarize your business plan section so far into the numbers, which is the easy part. You want to identify the projected cash flow and income statements and balance sheet. They all should be laid out for the last 3 years, as you have explored all things which produce the contents of these documents. You need to see how they reflect your business and operating plan and options. So everything that you have so far, you identify how big your market is, you identify what your products and services are, you identify your margins, you break even. All these things have to be now translated into these 3 forms of financial forms: the cash flow, income statement, balance sheet. Don't worry about it now. As I said before, we will cover this in much depth and detail, and we will provide tools for you and resources how to work on this and how to most efficiently and effectively develop these. So once you told your story in financial numbers, now you want to identify the timetable. How long is all this going to take, and when will things start to happen? Is your timeline consistent with the development and accomplishments of all the things you've talked about in your business plan so far? Is it realistic, and does it match your financial statements and capital structure that you have presented in the financial statements? Then you want to do the ask which is the final component of the business plan, right? You showed us in your business plan that there is a need, you have a solution, there is a market, you have a feasible economic structure for your business, you have a way to come to that market, you know what operations will be needed to deliver those products and services, you have the management, you know all the risks and assumptions, and the numbers sound great. Now you have to tell us what is you asking for, why you're writing the business plan. And again, this, as I said before, this might be that you want to present it to suppliers, you might want to present it to partners, potential partners, to funders, to a banker, or to people who are interested in mentoring you and advising you. So what is the deal? How much money will you need for the startup and sustainability based on your projections? What are the best combination of financing sources? And what will you offer in return of investment to capital sources? Why should each side of the financing accept a deal? And what are your exit and harvesting strategies? And again, we're going to go in much more detail on each of these sections, 12 sections that I covered today. So to wrap up for today, the question is, what makes a good plan? Really, the clarity and easiness to read is very important. Do not write a novel. Address each section directly as they are. Do not talk about marketing in the market section. Talk about market. Present it in a logical and ordered presentation, just like I have here in those logical, where you start with the big picture, go into the problem, identify that there's market, show that there's economic feasibility, show how you're going to reach the market, how it's all going to work, who's going to be involved, show the numbers, and then present what the ask is. Very important also, be realistic. Be realistic, be realistic. I cannot repeat this many times. It is really important that you keep it realistic, and I'll keep reminding you throughout each of these sections that real plan is the most sound plan. Even if it looks bad, if you work on a business plan and you figure out things are not the way you hoped or planned, that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't mean you should stop with your business plan. It just means that you have to look at things from a different perspective and find new opportunities how you can do it. If you identify, if I did the example of sauerkraut ice cream, it does not work, there is no market, then I shouldn't be doing sauerkraut ice cream. I should maybe doing some other ice creams. Maybe I can look at how I can do, if I still want to pursue ice creams, what else I can do based on what I found out. And maybe I found out that there's not much, let's say, ice creams that are made from organic milk, right? Because I did all the research and identified that most ice creams are not organic, but there's a gap. So I can go back now to my drawing board and say, instead of going sauerkraut ice cream, let me do regular ice cream flavors, but make it organic milk, something like that. So make it realistic. And also has to be financially viable. So when you work on your business financials, be realistic and make sure that those are viable. If not, then really it will not be a good plan. Nobody wants to invest in something that's not financially viable. And finally, also the length depends upon the purpose of the plan and the audiences. I've seen plans that are 12 pages. I've seen plans that are 50 pages. Again, depends on the purpose of the plan. When you're planning to do it, I would say an average business plan is about 25 pages, double-spaced, 12-point size, and that is what I've seen in many business plan competitions so far. I've seen a lot of business service providers working on that guide, using the same guidelines we have here, or same structure, and coming up between 20 and 30 pages. So a realistic would be average 25 page. Thank you for listening. I hope you have gained a lot from this section, and I look forward to talk to you in Business Plan Lab number 2, where we will cover the industry and the business and company concept. Thank you, and keep entrepreneuring.